who is preparing for her CES non-technical. So, Nisha, you can start.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and my name is Manisha Best, and the topic of my presentation is World War I. So, as we all know that war means destruction of innocent lives and tears to thousands of mothers' eye, as quoted by Edwin Starr. So, we would be discussing today about the outbreak of World War I and also its aftermath. So, as you can see the world map here, it is of 1914. It is representing the yellow portion is representing the Russian Empire, and the green one is other empire, and the mustard color is of British Empire. So, you can see that the British, where Britishers colonized and what were the extent of colonization. And so, we will be discussing about this region, this geographic region, and we will be learning about two alliances. First is Axis power, allied powers, and the second one is Central Axis power. So, the World War I, it was started in year 1914, and that was the turning point in the world's history. And the World War I was the Great War, and it was the deadliest conflict in the history. And though it was considered then that it would be the war to end all the wars, but later we got to know that World War II also followed the World War I. And in World War I, all the global militaries were involved. More than 30 countries were fighting against each other. And so, we will be discussing the powers, the world powers that were fighting. Now, what was the main cause of the war? The first is the militarism. Militarism in year 1914. So, at that time, every country wanted to have a monopoly in the markets, and that's why to make their market more competitive and to exclude all the competition from other European nations, they started militarizing their nation, and they invested heavily on machine guns and military. And second one is alliances. So, the concept behind the alliances was if one country is allying with another country, that means the chances of rivalry is low, and they will be protecting once if either of the alliance member countries is attacked by rivalry countries. So, third is the imperialism. So, that was the height of imperialism, and that at that time the nation were mainly run by feudalism, and the nations were exploiting other continents of the world, like Asia. By the 1914, Asia and Africa were almost 90% of the continent was colonized by Britishers or other European nations. So, the fourth one is the nationalism. Why it is the cause of main war is because when the nationalism reached extreme levels, it starts war. We can say that the jingoism in Britain, and the chauvinism in France, and the culturism in Greece, these in the Germany, these were the reason for the main causes of the war. So, coming on to militarism, as we have discussed that military forces, if the country was more military empowered, they used to have high profile status, and also European nation engage in massive military build-up. There was a scramble of powers among the nations. For example, Italy and Britain, these were all in the fight of colonizing more continents and securing their raw material, and thus making a high demand in the world market. So as I told you, alliance, it's so how can I? So alliance, as I told earlier, that it is an agreement between two nation or more nation to give each other help or to secure each other's border. And when either of the member countries is attacked, the next one will help the country that is attacked fighting back the war. So European countries form partnership, and they did so in order to protect themselves. So the year between 1879 and 1914, we saw multiple alliances, and so we'll be discussing the dual alliances, and we'll be knowing that Germany and Austria-Hungary, Austria and Hungary and Germany, you could see in the map. So Austria is somewhere here, and Germany here, Austria, Germany, and there is one more country was there, Serbia, but it is not here. And yes, it is here. So these were allied, though later Serbia made alliance with Russia, with Central Axis, with allied powers, but these were the major alliances, Germany and Austria and Hungary. So first alliance is Austria-Serbia alliance. The two countries, Austria and Serbian were into alliance, and in the triple alliance we saw Germany, Austria, Hungary confronting the world, and the third type of alliance is Franco-Russian alliance. In this, Russia formed alliance with France, and this is Entente cordial. Entente means you made an agreement between two nations that they will support each other, and Entente is generally the agreement between two friendly nations. So this is between France and Britain that later formed allied armies, allied forces. The next one is Anglo-Russian Entente. So this was the agreement between Britain and Russia, and as per the triple Entente, this was made between Russia, France, Britain to counter their increasing threat from the Germany. So the triple Entente between Russia, France and Britain, this is the allied, and the other was Axis. So we are seeing two opposing alliances. These are all one, and these are on one alliance. So Italy, Hungary, Austria-Hungary, Germany, Central Powers, and triple alliance are all in one, and it includes Germany, Austria, Hungary, Italy, only this much countries. In triple entente and allied powers, these three countries are involved. Later, US also joined it. And we'll be discussing why US entered into World War I, though it was not in the competition, or not in the it was not vying for the global competition. So So imperialism, nationalism, we have already discussed. So what triggered the war? So the immediate or the proximate cause of the war was the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria on June 18, 1914. So he was assassinated, and this was the cause of triggering the war. And the Serbian terrorist group, the Black Hand, it was a terrorist group, the Black Hand, resolved to assassinate Franz Ferdinand during his visit to Sarajevo, thereby stalling his proposed reform. So he was died at Sarajevo, and by a terrorist group called Black Hand. He was killed by Gavrilo Princip, and he was so the terrorist group was based on Bosnia country. And coming on to the assassination provided Austria-Hungary with an excuse to take action against Serbia. So this alliance, Austria and Hungary started taking action against Serbia, and Austria sent an ultimatum. Ultimatum is the final decision that is sent as a warning to the nation to come at a final set of demands on July 23, 1914, and it ordered Serbia to end all the anti-Austrian activities and to let Austrian officials handle the investigation of the murder. Austria gave Serbia 48 hours to meet these reforms. As we had earlier discussed, that Austria had proposed its alliance with Serbia, but thus when this assassination happened, the Austria sent ultimatum to Serbia, and thus both countries started fighting against each other. So the World War is also known as trench warfare, because at the time the trench were dug, and the soldier would go into the trench and protect their body and fight from their their head used to be on the surface of the ground. So they would fight, and all the trenches were connected to each other for the supply of food or the military devices. And so and multiple people died off due to insanitation. There was lack of sanitation there, and people lost life, and therefore it is also known as trench warfare. So as you could see from the figure that 200,000 men died in the trenches, World War I, most of who died in battle, but many died of diseases and infection. And infection brought by the unsanitary conditions. So as you could see from the trenches, these were the trenches, because at that time the military was not equipped enough to have equipments that could guard them against the attack. So these are the trenches, and most of them died in these trenches because of unsanitary practices. So these were the weapons, as you could see: machine guns, poisonous gas, and tanks and long range guns. So US moving closer to war. Now the reason that we know that there was a scramble between amongst European nations, that they wanted to monopolize the market. They had the competition of colonizing and regulating the other continents, but why US moved closer to the war? So it has an axe to grind, and we will learn what was that. So the US, as a neutral nation, it was a neutral nation, claimed to right to trade with either side of the war. So at the first it was a neutral nation. However, Britain and Germany set up blockades around the British and German coasts. So this was the point that you have to keep in mind, that the German and the British coasts were guarded, and there were blockades. So German submarines called U-boats U-boats torpedoed enemy ships and neutral ships trading with enemy. So Germany had this boats that has a role to play, and you have to keep in mind here. So in 1915, a German submarine torpedoed the Lusitania. It is not clear, but it's Lusitania, a British passenger ship, killing approximately 1,200 people, including 128 Americans. So the life that Americans lost, this was the reason that why Americans entered into World War. And as you could see that Germany and Britain were against each other. German is the part of Central Axis, and the British is the part of Allied Axis. So Allied parts. So U-boats torpedoed the Lusitania, and 128 Americans died, and that caused infuriation in the Americans, and that led to the entry of Americans into the World War picture. Now this is a telegram. It was a secret. You have to understand this. So Germany sent a secret message to Mexico, urging Mexico to attack the US if the US declared a war on Germany. So it was Germany wanted that if US attacked Germany, then Mexico should attack on US. Why would Mexico attack USA? Because USA had occupied and annexed a part of Mexico. That's why the Germany was trying and proposing Mexico to become a part of the alliance. And the next point is, Germany promised to help Mexico regain the land it lost to the US in the Mexican War. So as I have already told you, the US declared war on the central parts in 1907. It was a year when, so what this word armistice is an agreement between two rival countries that they would stop wars. So after the World War happened, meanwhile the armistice was signed to halt it was a halt in fighting during the war, failure of German surge. Germany were after some point of fighting, they come at some level of hesitancy because of it was because of the lack of finances to finance the military. So German troops mutinied and deserted. That's why armistice happened. So British naval blockade. That's why because of the British naval blockade, we saw that how Germany U-boats torpedoed that Lusitania, a boat of British. So food and supplies in short supply, riots on the street of Germany. Kaiser fled abroad. So who was Kaiser? He was the then emperor of Germany. Okay, during the World War I, he was the emperor. He fled abroad because he was not competent enough to run the country. So new government prepared to discuss peace terms. After 47 days, heavy casualties, the German retreated, and the central power backfooted. Now coming to the peace treaties. So peace treaty in this US has a role to play because it was proposed by President Woodrow Wilson's plan for peace known as 14 points. In this point there were self-determination, a fair peace and disarmament, and fair treatment of colonial people, that the people who are colonized will be treated with respect. And then in 1920, League of Nations was formed. In this League of Nations, it was an international body to who would see the disputed countries, issues, grievances, and it would also be accountable for the peace, international peace. So here is the Versailles Treaty. In the Versailles Treaty, we know that it was, these are big four allied leaders met at the Versailles to draw a peace treaty. Prime Minister Davy George of Great Britain, Premier George Clemenceau of France, President Woodrow Wilson of USA, Prime Minister Orlando Vittorio of Italy. So it was signed among with the consensus of these leaders. So Germany was forced to, at last, Germany was forced to take full blame of the war because it was started with their U-boats, and also there was a scramble, as I told earlier, that Europeans had the rivalry against their neighbors, that in case they have more ownership or colonized areas, then they will have more market. More market means more imperialism. More imperialism means more militarization. More militarization means more high profile status and more secure their borders. So take full blame for of the war, completely disarm, pay huge reparation to the allies. Actually, reparation is something that is paid as a compensation to all the nations which have occurred war, which have lost finances due to war. So give up its colonies. Germany had to give up its colonies to the allies. So all these points you could see that Germany was humiliated. That was the point when these were also the factors that led to World War II. So what was the result of World War I? Germany was angry, humiliated nation, setting the stage for World War II. Based on the goal of self-determination, many new nations were formed. Example: Finland, Poland, Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, and the Allies agreed to form the League of Nations. It was in 1920, so everything was wrapped up by then. The legacy of the war. What happens in legacy? In war, sorry. So at home, the war is strengthened both the military and the power of the government. The propaganda campaign provoked powerful fears in society. So people became more powerful, their fear of the powers, because the war acts like a propaganda to the war acts like a propaganda by instilling fear amongst the people. And for many countries, the war created political instability and violence, as happened in Germany. Russia established as the first communist state during the war. So it was Russia came out as a communist state, and American called the World War the war to end all the wars, though it was not true because the World War II followed. However, unresolved issues would eventually drag the US into an even deadlier conflict. So these are the casualties: 22 million dead, more than half civilians, and additional 20 million wounded.
Right. So it was a good presentation by Anita. Anyone is having any questions, you can ask. Any doubts, any questions? Who is having question? Yes, ask please.
As you have mentioned that the main issue is that there was an assassination of a French Ferdinand person.
Yes.
So what is the significance of this person? Why this person is so important? People were died at that time.
He was the political leader. He was the son of a political leader. I cannot, if we go by the.
Influenced by what is the?
If when one person is politically empowered and his son lose his life, wouldn't he take action against the country or the military group that took the life of his son? And at that time, there were not people were not philosophically educated that there should be peace. They have already invested more in militarization. Why wouldn't they use it? And that's why they used it.
If I were to say that if another person assassinated,
Yes.
still result would be the same.
Yes, yes. No, no, no. It wouldn't have been the same. Actually, it is not the only sole factor for the World War One. The assassination was one of the factor, but at the backdrop of that, we could see that the countries were already in rivalry against each other. They wanted powers. They want to secure global markets, and that's why they empowered themselves militarily, and that's why this war happened. So.
Anything else, anyone? Yes, Vignesh.
As you said, like Archduke was killed by the Serbian terror group. So, what was the reason for him to assassinate Serbian Austria's Duke?
So you're asking me the reason why he died.
What was the reason for assassination? Why it was the target?
At the time, the countries wanted to instabilize the government.
Why this? What will be?
With instability.
Yeah, Serbia is a different country.
Yes. Actually, Serbia is one country. The Austria country proposed for the alliance with Serbia, but Serbia, as we can see from the map, is in the close proximity and adjacent to the Russia, and Serbia was influenced with Russia. Serbia has good relations with Russia, and that's why for diplomatic reason it came in agreement with Austria, but as a matter of fact it was with Russia. So that was the reason that makes the country more vulnerable to instabilize, and that's why the military group attacked, or the terrorist group attacked the son of the political leader, and that's why this war started. Yes, there was rivalry. Okay, you see, the European as a continent is one, but the countries were not standing united at that time. So there were two fronts. Everybody wanted to come at agreement to form alliance, and that's why this happened.
Anything else, anyone? Yes,
At the time of World War I,
Yes.
India is under the domain of British.
Yes.
How it can be the interest of India that how much of our resources utilized by manufacturing that program. As we talking about the World War so far, how we are not having so much credit to given to Indians, and although a lot of resources have even come from India and finally World War I and second.
Talking of the casualties in World War I, more than 63,000 people, Indian soldiers lost their life, and more than 24,000 were wounded. And in Indian society, in India as a country teaches its students in the curriculum of education that we have contributed, but we also know that the countries, European countries, do not put in themselves as the one who were the destroyers of the world. So that's why at the global level, the credit of Indian soldiers is generally remains unrecognized.
All good? Nice. Wonderful presentation, Manisha. All the very best for your upcoming SSB.
Thank you, sir.
Fine.